Akhenaten is King Tut's father. Queen Taye and Amenhotep III was King Tut's grandfather and grandmother. Akhenaten, he got in big trouble because when you go to Egypt, if you ever notice, all those chipped away gods, all those people are chipped away, all their faces
Every
are chipped
temple.
away. That was under the order, initially, who started that? Akhenaten. So Akhenaten decided, I'm going to become a monotheistic ruler and not the kind that believes in multiple gods. And so, and what got into him was Amun-Ra, who's also Thoth's brother. His name is Marduk in the Bible and the Jewish Torah, but in Egypt, his name is Amun-Ra. He's the one who said, whenever you give thanks, you say amen to me. You give thanks to me. This is why people say amen. They're not saying amen to the creator of the universe. They're actually saying amen to this guy who says a brutal killing ruler, an evil dude who was so jealous.
Okay,
he said,
scratch that from my vocab.
Listen, he said, there'll be no other God but me. That was the terminology that made it into the actual biblical text. I'm a jealous God. That made it into the biblical text. Why would the creator of the universe be jealous? Why would the creator of the universe demand that other gods, which means there are other gods, I'm surprised they have left that in there, exist. And so this was Amun-Ra talking. You can look him up on the Jewish American Library and all that stuff. His name is all over the place. He's all in there interacting and talking and creating all kinds of issues and problems. And he told Akhenaten that you worship me and you get everyone to worship me and deface all the other gods. So Akhenaten started ordering and decreeing that all these things be chipped away everywhere you go. Chip away the faces, chip away the ears and noses.
He told us it was the Romans when I went.
Yeah, no. Akhenaten. Go into the super ancient history, you find that Akhenaten, that's why he was kicked out of Egypt. He was kicked out of Egypt, and when he left Egypt, he went to the Great Pyramid, and he went to that stone box area inside the king's chamber and took the Ark of the Covenant with him. See, Akhenaten is Moses. That's the Moses story. He takes that with him. He flees with all his new followers. There were no slaves in Egypt. I'm going to say this again. There were no slaves in Egypt working on pyramids. There people had their home slaves, but there were nobody building pyramids. We know this for a fact because we have all the work records. We discovered all the broken legs and broken arm records. We have all the payroll records, all of them. Come on. Yes, it's all done. It's all in the museum now. So we have all the information that show these people were paid. They had insurance. They had coverage. They had all this. We know for a fact that these people were not slaves. The people that were this exodus that left out of Egypt, they were the people who converted from believing in multiple gods to believing in the one God religion, monotheism, following Akhenaten. And he fled with all these people out of Egypt with the Ark of the Covenant. And that's why the powers that be sent an army after him. They're like, you took the source of our power with you. We got to have that. And they fled after him. He never crossed the Red Sea. That's a mistranslation in the Bible. He crossed the Sea of Reeds, which is a closer, much smaller sea. And when you do the geological rewind, which we have the computer models simulate now, around that same time frame that this happened, there was a massive earthquake and a tsunami estimated to be in that region, which means it would have sucked all the water out and would have come crashing back. So you see how stories get remixed. What's happened here was a natural disaster and perfect timing. But they then ended up in the desert with the Ark of the Covenant, which is well noted and documented in biblical text.
All right. So what was the Ark of the Covenant?
A super advanced technological machine. It was multi-purposeful. We know this because of the way that it's designed and what it reads, what it says, what it was capable of doing. It's a weapon, but it also has the capability of being a power source. So it does multiple things. And to handle it, you had to have lead. Okay, you had to have these special kind of boots on because it was a capacitor. And some scientists at several universities experimented with recreating the Ark using the instructions that are in the Bible. And it was so powerful, they had to shut it down.
What?
Yeah. Anybody can Google this. This is like, it was mainstream news about maybe 15 years ago. They've done this already. They reproduced it and it actually turned on.
What did the cherubs do? What did the angels, the cherubs do? What were they?
The cherubims at the top pointing each other?
Electricity?
Electricity, yes. Exactly. A big spark. When you look up the video on YouTube, you see a big spark jumping across an arc. That's the arc. That's why they call it the arc. It's the arc, which is the electromagnetic arc. It jumps from one cherubim to the next.
I've also heard that incense and the smoke from it was used to be able to see the energy, be able to see like the electricity and the energy working, that it was part of a way to, and that's kind of where some of the incense became ceremonial.
It's like when you see a laser show, they have to put that mist out there. It's the same
Yes,
exact
like
thing.
light the air.
Yes, exactly. Same exact thing. That's exactly what they did.
I also heard there were more than one arc too. There wasn't
There's
just
more than one arc. That is correct. There's more than one arc. There was more than one arc. They've all been taken now, so nobody knows where they are. The last one that we knew of was in Ethiopia at an Ethiopian church, and a guy discovered it there about 7 or 8 years ago, and he went public with it. And then within a year, it was stolen from there because there was no military, no police, no security, just some temple and church priests, guarding it. So they took it very easily, and that was the last one known of that was publicly available. The rest are probably in some type of a military bunker.
I think Graham Hancock did a pretty deep dive on the Ark, and anybody that interacted with the Ark would essentially not want the job because they would die.
Yeah, they would die. They would get what looked like radiation sickness. Their eyes would start bleeding, their nose would start bleeding, their nails would fall off, their skin would boil, their hair would fall out. That sounds like radiation sickness.
So what did they use it for in ancient times where it was productive?
The Great Pyramid itself is a power generator. That's one of the purposes. That's just one. It was a multifunctional stone computer also, but just for the purposes of this, it was built on top of an aquifer. And the Nile used to run very close to the pyramids on Giza. Now it's way meandered, way off.
It used to go up all the temples. All the temples have their ramps, and you can see that it doesn't look like normal steps. Like the water was right up to like all the temples, right?
Exactly, right up to them. And the water running underneath the Great Pyramid would run underneath in that aquifer. And that moving water would then run right underneath the solid granite, magnetized granite that was there, crystal granite. Now, when you have running water against magnetized crystal granite, which is the base there, it creates physiostatic electricity. Those ions would get pushed up into the Grand Gallery, and they used to have resonating rods in the slots going up the Grand Gallery. When it got to the King's Chamber, some other type of fusion would happen, and it would then send the energy up through the apex, and the apex, which is now missing, would then transmit it out wirelessly to the obelisk, which then collect this ambient electricity. And if you had a JED, you can pick up this ambient wireless electricity. You can see the JED connected to light bulbs and so forth, like at Ndera.
The JED has the 3 or 4 bars on it.
Exactly. And so Nikola Tesla copied that same energy power technique with the Wardenclyffe Tower. And so when the water shifted away, began to meander away, and I think it really happened after the last pyramid war, it broke the stone computer. It broke the stone power generator. And so what they realized was we can take this ark and we could put it in this. They made this makeshift granite box, which is not a sarcophagus because I can't even fit in. I'm 6'4". I can't lay in it.
I fit just fine. I was totally fine. My toning inside of the box sounded great.
Nice.
But it's definitely not big enough to be a sarcophagus. When you've seen the real ones, they're giant.
They're massive. I had to bend my knees.
Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't a sarcophagus, but it's the same exact, I measured it. It's the same exact dimensions as what? The Ark of the Covenant. Identical dimensions, which means it fit right in that box. And so if you don't have the water, you need something else to arc the power. Perfect location to put it in the King's Chamber to send the energy through the apex so they can keep the wireless energy going.
Free
so
energy.
So when Akhenaten took that, he took the power source for Egypt.
Send you right back in time if you don't have power. And also no one would want that right now because institutions would lose billions of dollars because you would be allowing free energy.
Free energy puts everyone on the equal playing field. No more third world country. If you got energy and water, everybody's equal, and they don't want that. They want to keep the boot on the necks of the people and control and hoard the power in one region so they can dominate the rest of the planet.
What do you believe the temples were used for?
Temples had a couple of different purposes. One, they're built on top of these extreme magnetic fields. And so in some way, they would harness those magnetic fields for some type of energy purposes. In some way, they were utilizing this energy for, like the Fountain of Youth. They would utilize it for anti-aging techniques, anti-aging methods. Also, there's a couple of temples that sick people would be allowed to go into. Right. And they would walk between these 2 magnetized granite plates, and it would heal them. For the Anunnaki Atlantean people or the pharaohs, it was anti-aging. they've done experiments inside of some of these temples and some of these similar magnetic fields where plants grow twice as fast and are more abundant. And so, they were built. Plus, also the design of them had ancient secrets and mysteries encoded into the actual construction technique that was left behind for people to read. People who knew, the brick masons and so forth, they get information from these structures and buildings
in
as
the
well.
Pattern of the building of the temple, like how the rooms were organized, how you'd walk through it.
Yeah.
If you like this clip and you want to hear the whole episode, click at the bottom of your screen.